Oh, wow, this is big because we've got new info. So get ready and watch out for storms from above and storms from below. And the heat wave reaches its crescendo. The moon is dead, but you already knew that. And hey, what about your weekend forecast? Well, we've got it all because this is Cold Rain's Weather World, where we've got all the weather, and it starts right now. Hey, welcome into Cold Rain's Weather World, where we've got all the weather, folks, and let's have a little bit of fun. If we can't enjoy ourselves and have a little bit of fun as we walk through the weather, you know, what good is it, folks? I'm going to tell you about the weather today, but we have a little bit of fun, get a little creative, and just enjoy ourselves along the way. Joe Bastardi says, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you've got, and that's true. And unfortunately, the only weather we've had to talk about the last several days, almost a week or whatever more. Maybe it's just severe weather and heat. And fortunately, the heat may be on its way out a little bit. We'll take a look at that here in a minute when we get into the long range. We'll take a look at your weekend forecast. We've got solar weather, to talk about. Solar storm coming in, and that means Aurora viewing for some of you potentially. We're going to look at that. And we're going to get started, though, with the severe weather outlook. If it seems like we've been talking about severe weather for the last several days, weeks, that is true, folks. We have talked about it ad nauseum, and today is no different. We've got severe weather in the southeast and Cold Rain's neck of the world here, folks. So from Raleigh to Charlotte, over to Asheville, down to Columbia, Greenville, South Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia, Columbus, Mobile, down to Pensacola and Tallahassee. You could see some wind being the primary threat later today. A few hailstones not out of the question, and pop-up showers and thunderstorms. Going to be quite a bit more instability today, courtesy of a little spin that we saw yesterday when we looked at it. Go back and watch that video if you want to see it, but we've a little spin coming in off the Atlantic, moving over to Florida, a little piece of energy, helping to cool the mid-levels a little bit, provide a little wind energy for thunderstorms down here to maybe organize a little bit better today in the form of clusters, line segments. If we see that, we could see a little bit more in the way of organized wind threat. We're going to watch the radar later to see. But up here in the mid-Missouri Valley, too, from Des Moines, Iowa, up into Omaha, Nebraska, up toward Sioux Falls, that's where we're looking at the primary threat again. Wind, a little low-level jet coming in to provide some energy later today, a little spin up here, so wouldn't be surprised to see a tornado or two, though not a big threat. The primary threat's wind in all of these areas, and hail is sort of a secondary threat, but generally isolated severe thunderstorms kind of surrounding these slight risk zones, and then scattered showers and thunderstorms anywhere pretty much from the central plains to the east. Tomorrow, no slight risk yet, but we might see one added as we go through the next 24 hours. Again, southeast, a little less instability and organization tomorrow, so pop-up showers and thunderstorms, isolated severe weather not out of the question there, or through the Great Lakes back to the central plains and up into Montana, where you see a little bit of an enhancement in the upper level winds there. So general shower and thunderstorm activity again possible for much of the eastern two-thirds of the nation. A little bit better of a chance of organized severe weather in the northern plains as a piece of energy comes in and cools the upper levels and brings in a large hail threat. So we'll see. So you go here and you can see like there's a hatched area, so we could see some significant hail, maybe some wind again up in the northern plains as we head into Friday. Looking at our instability over the next couple of days here. This is this morning as we go on out into this afternoon. Look at the instability just build in the Mississippi Valley on east, with the exception of the northeast. You can see that instability just build up, and then it'll wane out overnight. And as we get on into the evening hours, the overnight hours, it diminishes a bit, comes back again tomorrow, and you can see that how it just sort of rebuilds through the day as the heating comes up, and then we lose the heating and it kind of goes away. So the same pattern exists over the next few days, a little bit less as we get on into Friday and things cool off a bit. That's going to lead to the production of showers and thunderstorms, and we'll roll this forward. This is this morning. We've got showers and thunderstorms out there already for places like New Mexico, eastern Colorado, up through Nebraska. Big area of showers moving through North and South Dakota into Minnesota later today. But look at this. We get on into late afternoon, 4 or 5 o'clock, we start to see pop-up showers down here in the southeast, pop-up thunderstorms, and really a nice little clustering of thunderstorms through North Carolina. starts to build as it feels the influence of that mid-level feature. And then eventually, as we go on through the evening, those will move on into South Carolina, Georgia, into Alabama and Florida. And then of course up here in the area, the other area that we're kind of watching for, from Wisconsin back through Iowa into Nebraska, South Dakota, we're seeing pop-up showers and thunderstorms. Any of those could be severe as well. A few showers to the mid-Atlantic, and that cluster just organizes a little bit better as it gets on into South Carolina and Georgia, potentially into Alabama as we go into the late evening and overnight hours. That could hold together fairly long into the night. So folks in Alabama and Georgia, you could hear rumbles of thunder and be woken up by some of those. And there's a little cluster of rain continuing to hold together as we get on into Thursday. Thursday morning, we get on into about 8 a.m. Everything starts to die down a little bit, and we get on into Thursday afternoon again. We're going to see activity pop up here along the Ohio Valley into the northeast, back into the Appalachians. That's where we'll see thunderstorms develop along the higher terrain. Little cluster of storms moving into the Great Lakes where our marginal risk area is. And you can see those pop-up showers and thunderstorms. We're just in a pop-up regime, folks. Talked about it yesterday. Boundaries drive everything. And of course, in this type of flow pattern, when you don't have big systems coming in, you're looking at boundaries and little subtle pieces of energy in the mid-levels. And that's what we're seeing. And they'll be in different places at different times of the day and different days of the week. And so that's why we've got these little pockets of severe weather scattered all about the country. And that's what's going on, folks. That's your severe weather update. Things will organize a little bit better as we get on into Friday potentially, but we'll look at Friday more in detail tomorrow. But that is your severe weather update today. Now we're going to take a look at your weather IQ. I've got a question for you coming right up. All right, before we get to today's IQ question, if you haven't yet subscribed to the show, please consider hitting that subscribe button and joining the team. We've got almost 900 members. It's amazing to see the growth here. Really appreciate all the support, folks, and thank you for that. Pray over all of you every day. If there's something specific I can pray over for you about, put it in the comments section, and I'm happy to do that, folks. But in any event, let's get on here and take a look at today's weather IQ question, see how much you know about your oceans. And we're going to continue that theme. And the question is, what is the name of the deepest oceanic trench? You may know this. This is not all that unpopular of a question. The Philippine Trench, the Mariana Trench, the Tonga Trench, or the Laurentian Abyss? If you know the answer, put it in the comments. If you don't, just hang out to the end of the show and I will tell you exactly what it is. So if you've got big weekend plans, then stick around. Right around the corner, we're going to take a look at the weather for your weekend in our weekend update. We're also going to look at space weather and see who has the best chance of seeing auroras, and see if there are any other volcanoes or geological events like earthquakes that we need to pay attention to as well. We also got to look at the long range coming up to see if we can find any relief from this heat, folks. I'm tired of this heat. But in the meantime, let's start here with the satellite image, and you can see in the animation very, very nicely clouds moving up out of Mexico into the Midwest. Some of those clouds are producing rain and lightning strikes. You can see that showing up on the lightning display. Another batch of clouds moving into the Pacific Northwest, making for some unsettled conditions up there, courtesy of a trough moving in. And the big anticyclone high pressure ridge that's been sitting here over the Tennessee Valley and Mississippi Valley is pumping in moisture off the Atlantic. You can see those clouds moving in and a clockwise flow around that, showing up very nicely. Looking at the radar image, rain falling in eastern Mexico, where we've seen several inches of rain already. Flooding concerns are out here with a flash flood watch up. Of course, up here in the Missouri Valley and in the Midwest, we've seen plenty of rain too, and we'll continue to see that. Rain is falling now. Some of these these showers are really efficient rainfall producers because the atmosphere is loaded with moisture. So a lot of rain can come down very, very quickly. Moving out of Chicago into Lansing, Michigan, another batch of showers there, and that's pretty much what's going on the radar front. But we'll take a look at more of the flooding threat here in a second. But the wind around the country, a lot of the country is going to be gusty today, gusting 20 to 25 miles per hour, where you see these blue colors show up. The greens are in the 30 range, 35 miles per hour. So out here in western Kansas and the panhandle of Oklahoma, or panhandle of Texas, we could see a little bit of gusty winds there. And also in the southeast near cold rain, we could see a few gusts here in North Carolina approaching 30 miles per hour. So going to be quite a windy day across much of the nation. Air quality, not so bad when you have plenty of wind. You don't that typically helps out air quality. But New York, Philadelphia, northern mid-Atlantic, again in Las Vegas, and over here in San Diego up to Los Angeles, we could see a little bit of air quality issues. So if you've got any sensitivity to that, stay inside. Here's our surface map. Look at this boundary. This thing has just been sitting in place, allowing little waves to train along that occasionally, and the focus at the surface enhances showers and thunderstorms. So no surprise that we've got sort of a flooding threat near this boundary as rain showers continue to produce heavy rain there. So there's your severe weather threat. Another severe weather threat across the southeast. We've already looked at that. And then a little heavy rain threat back in New Mexico where flood watch is up. Anywhere in the green area, you could see pop-up showers and thunderstorms through the day today. Tomorrow, not much changes. The boundary sits across the northern tier. The heavy rain threat shifts into Wisconsin and down into Kansas as we see more training of rain showers and more focused area of rain. But anywhere around the eastern 2/3 of the country could see pop-up showers and thunderstorms. Looking at the hazards map, folks, the alerts map, big area of flood watches up in New Mexico. Again, we could see a few more inches of rain out of that. And then if we get over here into the east, this is where we see the big, the big heat, folks, building up. Heat advisories up for the entire Mississippi Valley up into the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley. Extreme heat warning still in effect across the mid-Atlantic down into the southeast, also in West Virginia and in western Pennsylvania for heat index values going up to 110. And look at this. If we look at the heat index values today, mid-hundreds up here as far north as New York City, down through Philly, back into DC, down into the Carolinas. We could actually see some values in the 1-teens in some of these areas as we go through the afternoon. 100 heat index values all the way around. And this will be the case for the next couple of days, although it will diminish in intensity. So if you're outside working, take frequent breaks, stay hydrated, and mind those pets and children. Come inside, get into the AC as much as possible. Actual high temperatures, upper 90s to hundreds up and down the eastern seaboard. We get on out here in the Mississippi Valley, Ohio Valley, back into the low and mid 90s, but plenty of humidity around. It's going to feel terrible. Northern Maine across the northern tier, 70s and even 60s under cloud cover and rain up here in the northern plains and Midwest. Start to get a little bit warmer out here into the Intermountain West, but cool in the Pacific Northwest today under the influence of a trough coming in, and that will persist tomorrow. Still cool up here, 66 up around Seattle for the high. Good gracious. And then Minneapolis, 70. So we'll go across the north, Albany, 75. You get on down here in toward Raleigh, 97 again, 94 in Jackson, 94 in Dallas. Down here in Phoenix, we're looking at 106, so it's getting warm back out here too. Return flow, plains are going to be warming up over the next few days again, so don't get used to that cool weather. There we go, 90s making it up into North Dakota. Still cool across the north, mid 90s, so it backs off. We're starting to see those hundreds diminish as we go on in through the end of the week, except in the desert Southwest where it will continue to be hot, cool in the Northwest as well. Looking at rainfall as we get on in toward Thursday and Friday. Look at this little batch of showers up here in the Great Lakes area. And going on through Thursday afternoon, we start to see frontal zone kind of light up with showers and thunderstorms out here, pop-up showers and thunderstorms through the south, little rain showers moving into the Pacific Northwest, but not a washout up there. We get on into Thursday evening. There we just got little clusters of showers and thunderstorms, so nothing really all that organized. That's why we're not seeing a big severe weather threat. Some of that will persist into Friday night, but most of it will diminish, and we get on into Friday afternoon. Again, another batch of showers and thunderstorms along the high country here in the southern and central Appalachians. A little system working along the Canadian border, bringing rain through the Great Lakes into the northeast. And we get on into Friday evening. Again, you can see all of that activity just sort of pop up in nature. But look here in North Dakota, put this on into motion, could see an organized cluster of storms or a line of storms move through North and South Dakota as we go through Friday afternoon, late into the evening hours. And that could bring an organized wind threat up there. And lastly here, look at the overall precipitation totals as we look at through the end of the week. A couple inches of rain could fall out here in New Mexico and then up here into the Midwest. And approaching the Great Lakes, we could see 2 or 3 inches of rain, and then back down through the Appalachians and down into the southeast. That's another corridor where we could see a little bit more in the way of maybe an inch, of half an inch to an inch of rain over the next couple of days. Certainly, if you get under one of those thunderstorms, you're going to see plenty of rain in a hurry, and you could pile that rain up maybe to the tune of 2 or 3 inches if it's pretty stagnant. So that's what we're looking at over the next couple of days, folks. We're going to get in here and take a look at your weekend forecast next. Hopefully you've got something fun to do this weekend if you're heading out to the beaches. No need to be concerned about any tropical activity. Nothing going on in the tropics except the eastern Pacific, where we've seen plenty of areas of disturbed weather. Some of those have developed into tropical systems here, but nothing going on except for this one area of disturbed weather. We'll see tropical cyclone formation. Potentially a tropical depression comes out of this in the next 7 days, 80% chance, but it's going to move on off and not really bother anyone except bring some rainfall maybe to like Nicaragua and places like that down here in Mexico. Other than that, not a lot going on in the tropics. The flow pattern as we go on through Saturday and Sunday, same as it's kind of been. It's kind of getting this zonal flow around the top of the ridge. We see these little pieces of wind come through in the mid-levels, and that enhances shower and thunderstorm activity. So as we go on through Saturday, get into Sunday, you can see that same sort of regime. As we get on out into Sunday, we get a little bit more of a trough signal showing up in here that's a little bit more defined piece of energy. That's why we have a little bit better of a threat of severe weather potentially as we get on into the weekend across the northern tier, and hopefully that trough will just continue to build into the east. But we're going to take a look at that coming up in the long range forecast and see if it does so. In the meantime, you're looking for relief from humidity, you got to head out west to the Rockies and the Intermountain West, because in the eastern 2/3 of the country we are being soaked with humidity. Look at these dew points, 70s all the way up to the Canadian border, everywhere except northern Maine, and that doesn't go anywhere over the course of the weekend. So it's going to be hot and muggy, though not as hot and muggy as it has been the last couple of days and will be today. Temperatures as we get on out into Saturday, 90s, upper 90s to mid 90s across much of the south and into the central plains. Those 90s are surging back, hundreds in the desert southwest, again cooler in the northwest and the northeast. Look at this, 59 up here. And in the mountains up here in Maine, unbelievable. And then on into Sunday, that is going to warm up slightly up in Maine. Everybody else is continuing to bake in the summertime, hot, humid heat, 90s, upper 90s across much of the south. Hundreds back, look at this, Phoenix getting into 110, 112, probably see some 120 readings in Death Valley, and then warmth surging back into the Pacific Northwest. Looking at precipitation as we go through the weekend, there we have it, Saturday afternoon, scattered showers and thunderstorms over much of the east, and then as we get on into Saturday evening, a big bow echo through South Dakota and into Minnesota, perhaps bringing some wind in there. We'll see if that pans out. Still got a few days to watch that. Sunday, same sort of scenario. We could see a little bit more in the way of organization in the plains as we head through the weekend. So we're going to watch severe weather in the central plains here, in the northern plains, but everywhere else could see showers and thunderstorms just in a pop-up variety in the east. Little few showers and thunderstorms, or showers working in the Pacific Northwest too, but that'll diminish as we get through the weekend. Here's our upper level pattern, folks, as we take a look at the long range forecast. We're going to see any relief from all of this heat? Well, I hope so, but look at this. Starting out on Monday, we can already see some signs of something going on that's a little bit different. Here is Big Ridge out west, trough dipping into the middle of the country, another ridge developing over the northeast, so it's going to warm up there. But look at this. We've seen a big ridge over the east. Well, those colors seem to be diminishing in intensity, and they certainly appear to be on the European ensembles, and even got some blue showing up over here in southeastern Canada. Look at that. Big trough in the east, big ridge going up out west, and you know what that means if that pans out. Unsettled weather for the east, cooler weather as well. Cooler to the tune of maybe back toward normal, and then above normal out in the west, particularly over the northwest up into northwest Canada. And we're going through next week, that pattern seems to hold and flattens out as we get out in time. Is that true? Well, we'll see. The GFS doesn't necessarily agree. The GFS has a much shallower trough. I like the European ensemble better as a model, but it's not infallible. Looking at the actual 850 millibar temperatures, we can kind of see it back off as we get on into mid next week. We started this at the beginning of the week. We're in midweek, and look at that. Cooler temperatures over the Great Lakes in the Northeast, kind of average everywhere else. You get back into the Southwest as well. Warmer temperatures up over the Northwest, which we expect with the ridge out there, right? So that's what it looks like as we get to next week. So we could see some relief in the East. And precipitation looks about normal, maybe a little bit above from the Southwest up into the Central Plains. This is a 7-day precipitation anomaly. So this covers the basically Friday to next Saturday, something along those lines. And so the signal for below normal is out here in the Southeast and the Pacific Northwest too. And so what does the National Weather Service say? Well, the Climate Prediction Center has its outlook out, and 8 to 14 day near normal across much of the central portion of the country, below normal in the desert Southwest, near normal up to Maine, and then above normal in the Southeast and above normal in the Pacific Northwest. That's kind of in step with what the Europeans showed, so maybe they're leaning in that direction. It looks like they are, and certainly above normal for much of the nation, at least slightly above normal in terms of the signal, except for the desert Southwest where you guys need the rain. We're going to look at the drought monitor tomorrow and see who's been dry and who's been wet. But that is your forecast. Alaska and Hawaii above normal. That is your long-range forecast. Let's wrap up the show with a look at the sun and see what it's doing and see if there's any other things that we need to pay attention to in that realm. Here is our sun, folks, and we have been talking about this trans-equatorial coronal hole. It's this big black region here. It is rotating away and exiting stage right, but not before it has done us the courtesy of sending in a enhanced solar wind stream to interact with our magnetosphere, and that is going to result in geomagnetic conditions, moderately so, and that could help fuel aurora production, and some of you may see those. We'll look at that here in a second. But if we look at these sunspots, we've got a few of them in our region near center disk or just away. Got another one coming in, but really not seeing a lot of complexity out of these. A negative charge way out in front of a positive charge is not all that conducive for solar flare production, though it's not impossible, but you want to see an interspersement of those if you want to get big solar flares typically. So we're going to keep watching that. Several solar filaments as well. There's the geomagnetic storm conditions, moderate storm conditions possible today. You can see the solar wind coming here toward us. You can see that down here at the bottom. Speed is picking up, and as speed picks up, it interacts more greatly with the magnetic field of the Earth, producing aurora. And look at this, a likelihood of aurora is fairly likely today. The reds indicate a higher chance of aurora, and if you're down here along or below this line from northern Maine to southern Minnesota, southern South Dakota, across southern Montana into Washington, you all could see aurora today. Very, very good sky for it. We don't have a lot of moon out there. In fact, we have zero moon. The moon is dead. It's a new moon, and we've been talking about that over the last couple of days. We're headed down to new moon phase, and so you may be able to get out and see the aurora if you don't have any clouds. So check it out. Let me know if you do. 4 volcanoes that we've been watching. Nothing new in the Pacific Ring of Fire, and then out in the earthquake zone, not a lot going on out here either. We had that 5.7 in the DR yesterday, but nothing since then to write home about. Moon is dark. Waxing crescent is what we are officially in, but the new moon is today, so you're not going to see much of anything at 0.2%. I can assure you of that. Here's our day-night map, and I've been looking at this wrong, and I have no problem admitting when I have been wrong. The sun and the moon are, of course, close together when, in terms of how the map is being displayed here, when you have a new moon, and as we get into full moon phase, it'll be back over here in the dark area. So I've been criticizing this map, and the egg is on my face. I got a big pie in the face. That's what happens sometimes when you criticize things. But if you don't know what's going on here, the light areas is where it's sunny, and the dark areas is where it's nighttime, and the little transition zones, of course, is twilight, right? Day, evening, daytime to evening, nighttime to daytime, that kind of thing. So that's what's going on with this map. I think it's kind of cool. I like to show it. That leads us into our weather IQ question to wrap up the show. And the question, of course, was, what is the name of the deepest oceanic trench? And the answer is the Mariana Trench, folks, at a depth of 36,037 feet. That is 6.8 miles if you're keeping score at home. The Challenger Deep is the deepest point in that trench, and the Tonga Trench comes in second at 35,702 feet. And now you know about the deepest place in the ocean. It would crush you just like that. Heat wave hits the upper Midwest also on June the 25th in 1929. So we don't just have heat waves today. We've had them for as long as the Earth has been around. And in 1929, a record-setting heat wave brought extreme temperatures across the upper Midwest. In Minnesota and the Dakotas, and temperatures soared above 110 degrees. And of course, this event contributed to crop stress during the Dust Bowl era, folks. And now you know the weather. One more thing for those of you that like pop culture. Michael Jackson passed away on June the 25th, 2009 he was given drugs, I believe, to help him sleep, and he was given an overdose of those drugs, and of course he died because of that at the age of 50. Today is Lionel Richie's birthday, 76 years old, and Chris Pratt also has a birthday today, and he is 46. Happy birthday to you guys. Any of you out there have a birthday? Happy birthday to you folks. And that's it for the show. I hope you've had fun. We'll be back tomorrow with another show. It may be released a little bit later. Got an appointment in the morning, but that's it. Take care. This is Cold Rain reminding you other stations run 24/7. We got you covered 48/14 right here, right now at Cold Rain's Weather World. Have a blessed day.